Hey there, YouTube. How you doing? We're going to jump into some world news. We're covering El Salvador, Taiwan, UK, and China today, with China being specifically some finance news relating to that multi-billion-dollar company Avangrid, or Avanggrande. I'm not quite sure how to say it properly, but this multi-hundred billion-dollar company that is just dissolving, and you know, I mean, it's an unbelievable amount of money on the table getting just completely obliterated. There's no wealth there. There's no worth, and somehow China is keeping the lid on everything, keeping the wraps on all of it. YouTube mode activated. So yeah, but let's jump into our first story here. This absolutely shocking story out of El Salvador. It's shocking in for a couple reasons. Shocking in how they're treating human beings, and shocking in how effective it's been at destroying these cartels. What's not shocking is the human rights abuses that come with an authoritarian regime that is just scooping up. Like, you got a tattoo, get in the fucking van. Oh, someone says they saw you selling drugs. We're gonna knock on your door and investigate you, and if you're the slightest bit suspicious, get in the van. Right? It's the El Salvador. If you're not sure what the hell's going on, El Salvador has been plagued with massive, brutal gang violence by one of the most brutal gangs on planet Earth, MS-13. You've probably heard of it. These are the hardest core motherfucker. Boil you alive in front of your children. Boil your children in front of you alive. I mean, these are, think of the worst atrocities committed, and these guys are up to it. Just like, cartels and gangs across the world. It's a contest on who can be more brutal. So the gang violence, the drugs, it's been quite a problem in El Salvador. This really young, brash president has come in. He's doing a bunch of wacky libertarian crazy shit, trying to change the currency into Bitcoin. That fucking really worked out great. I'm not sure what the economy, what they've done since the recent Bitcoin crash, but we're not getting into the economy on this one. But he's been called the social media president. He's all over social media, selfies, all that kind of shit. People fucking love him in El Salvador, and for one reason, he has destroyed these gangs by using extrajudicial incarceration. Lift up your shirt, folks. Some of these people are some of the worst, and some of these guys are so fucking young. I'm talking in their teens with full MS-13 face tattoos. Okay, but the problem is, with something like this, shit tons of innocent people are getting wrapped up in it. So, as a lefty, I got to sit here and point this out that, yeah, that's great. No more gangs on the street. But what about liberty and freedom? Is that a concern to anybody? Fact is, a lot of people are like, finally, because they've been suffocated by violence for decades. They finally get to see some sunlight, and they're it's a perfect example, right? Are you willing to give up your liberty for security? And in this case, yeah, the people of El Salvador love it. This is a slippery slope. This can't go on forever. Will he stop at the cartels? Is he going to reform this, try to fix the problems, or is he going to just double down, right? Do a Pinochet? This is tough, because I don't exactly want to see this fail. I like the idea that people are happier and feel safer. You know what I mean? I don't exactly want to shit on the progress that's been made. But a lot of innocent people are apparently getting roped up into this. According to the statistics, only 1/3 of the people incarcerated are gang related. But of course, all the footage we're going to see is the PR stuff that the government has filmed And these guys look heinous, dude. These guys look nasty, dude. These guys look like they'll fuck your shit up. So, you know, you don't really want them on your streets. I mean, you'll see what I mean in a second.
This rural community is now the focus of El Salvador's war on. This rural community is now the focus of El Salvador's war on gangs. Thousands of soldiers are out on patrol, controlling access into and out of Cabañas, searching and questioning anyone they find suspicious.
So there you go. So you know, say you got a tattoo, you know, of something. It's not gang related, but you know, this guy doesn't know. He can't take, you know, they can't take a risk. So all of a sudden now you're getting roped up into an extrajudicial arrest, you know, because you had a tiger tattoo or something and some gang calls themselves the Tigers. And you're like, no, it was because me and my cousin, we had an inside joke about tigers. Get in the van. Get in the van, MS-13 member. You know what I mean? This is the problem with it, right? And luckily, this guy wasn't arrested. He doesn't have tattoos. But, you know, it's not a guarantee of membership. And it's not, you know, like I said, this can get completely wildly out of control.
Tattoo or anonymous tip is evidence enough to be hauled off to jail.
Anonymous
Under
tip?
El Salvador's
right?
year and a half.
So you know, some guy fucked your girlfriend. Oh yeah, I'm calling him up. Oh man, this guy's MS-13, bro. Yeah. He flashed a gang sign when he was fucking my girlfriend. Now go pick his ass up. Right? It can get completely out of fucking control.
Half-long state of emergency.
Yeah, Rebel Phoenix, yeah. And it was pretty damn effective in dismantling the Yakuza, right? You had guys that couldn't even own cell phones. I think they're still doing it, right? If you're a known Yakuza member, you basically get excommunicated from society.
Across the country, more than 70,000 people have...
So yeah, he's a lifer, dog, right? He's a fucking lifer. But not all of them are like this. But there was enough of these dudes running around to completely choke the entire country.
Already been taken into custody. Prisoners packed together and put on display.
Yeah, they forced them to do this. Yeah.
In footage released by the government, proudly trumpeting a huge decline.
Take a close look at this one. Look how young he is. Look how unbelievably young he is. Full tatted up, man. I mean, and it's a real problem in El Salvador. You know, it's a real legitimate fucking problem. Lifers from day one, from day one, birth one, lifers. Look how young he is. And it's like, and we're seeing this problem in San Francisco, and we're actually seeing this problem in Canada as well. Neoliberals who don't have fresh ideas. They don't know what to do. They're trying a bunch of shit around the edges. None of it makes money, so it's all half funded. It's all a bunch of Band-Aid shit. Crime runs rampant. Wildly out of control. You know, we're still talking about the rights of guys who are just proudly parading as gang members, right? Free speech rights for, terrorizing neighborhoods and whatnot. So there's some serious problems with how the left, the current neoliberal left, because who knows how an actual communist regime would actually handle something like this. They don't exist. Sorry, communists. Some 300 person fucking micro country doesn't count. So all we have are the neoliberals and corporatist style Western lefties, and yeah, they suck. Policies suck. Don't get shit done. Go to San Francisco and tell me that shit is being handled well, right? It's a joke. At right now, if there's a live stream, if someone wants to look it up, if there's a live stream of the courtyard that's in front of the Capitol Hill in San Francisco, there's going to be at least a dozen drugged out junkies passed out on the very lawn of Capitol Hill in San Francisco, blatantly saying, every single day it happens. I used to eat my lunch there every single day. You know, I would go to protest there all the time as well. It's a beautiful courtyard with trees and all this shit. It's a great place to have a protest right in front of Capitol Hill. But there's drug addicts walking all around everywhere. Completely a perfect and clear and shining example of the failure of neoliberal policy to handle these situations. And what are they doing with their failure? They're offering psychopathic authoritarian right-wingers who are like, yep, I know the solution. I know exactly what to do. Arrest everybody. You know, yeah, some people get caught up in it. Yeah, well, who cares? Pretty peaceful, isn't it? Yeah, so what? Your neighbor might accuse you of being an MS-13 member, and then now you got to deal with court. Ah, well, that's the price of freedom. Thank you, the Dish Lady, for that follow. Lovely name. So this is why we need to criticize and push back against neoliberal governance, because once again, they leave vacuums. They leave wide open opportunities for right-wing grifters, charlatans, and authoritarians to come in, destroy your liberties, right, for the sake of a little bit of security. But in El Salvador's case, a lot of security. It was a mess, man. They, tourist organizations being like, don't even go there. Yeah, it's beautiful. Of course, it's beautiful. But if you go there, you're gonna, don't do that. There's, it's the same thing in Mexico, right? What the fuck is the Mexican leadership doing about these cartels? How long are we gonna have to be dealing with this shit? Right, a right-wing authoritarian is gonna come in and like, hey, you see what they did in El Salvador? I'll do the same exact thing, right? Violence. We're gonna take them out. Light the whole country on fire. But I mean, in El Salvador's case, I mean, the crackdown was unbelievable. I mean, was like, I'm shocked. In Mexico, this guy probably would have been, the president would have been assassinated. I'm sure MS-13 wanted to assassinate him, so I'm sure he was careful, but, anyway.
And in the country's murder rate. Last week,
Totally
Congress passed a bill allowing up to 900 suspects to be tried together, causing outrage amongst human rights activists.
900 suspects tried together. That's outrageous. That's not justice. That's absolutely not justice.
Who say only around a third of those held in prison have links to gangs.
You see, you hear that? Only about a third, according to human rights agencies, only about a third of these people have actual links to human rights agencies or to gang-related activity. Now, we don't know how accurate that is. It's, it's probably gray, right? But this is what happens though when a dragnet is this hardcore. When you can, like I said, dude, some guy fucks your girlfriend, you're not going to call the hotline? Oh yeah? The hotline that immediately gets him harassed by the cops, and he might get dragged away into a goddamn hellhole. Some guy fucks your girlfriend, you're not going to call the hotline. It happens all across the fucking country. This is a blueprint that's been repeated. It's not the first time. And this is, a snoop on your neighbor police state has been implemented, right? And then a bunch of innocent people get caught in a dragnet, right? And it's like, oh well, it works, but at what cost? And the left doesn't have anything better to offer. That's the problem. We tried the left way, didn't we? And look what happened. The gangs completely took over the country.
But President Nayib Bukele, who once called himself the world's coolest dictator, has sky-high approval ratings. He's more popular than the Pope.
This is what happens.
You can ask the people, the woman at her home, the one selling tortillas, the one selling pupusas. Ask them what they think of El Salvador, what they think of this government, what they think of this so-called dictatorship. Stop believing in people in an office far away from this country who don't even know it, talking about what they don't know.
900 people.
In the center of San Salvador.
900 people convicted at once. And we have a dragnet that absolutely is picking up innocent people.
Salvador, smiles and fancy footwork. But scenes like this were once unimaginable. deadly violence the public's top concern. The war against the MS-13 and 18th Street gangs was triggered by a particularly bloody weekend last year. Now, for residents like Maritza, a shopkeeper, there's a new sense of freedom.
It was really unsafe. We couldn't leave our doors open because guys we didn't want to associate with would come in. They'd come to shops, ask for rent that people had to pay. Other shops had to give them food, anything they wanted.
Yeah,
But peace
or they'd
has come
fucking
at a
kill
price, and there's still a sense of fear, this time of being falsely accused.
Fear still exists because of these families of the gangs that seek to harm others that have nothing to do with the gangs. Before, these people would threaten you. Now, though, the threat is that they will falsely report you. It's something that police...
So you hear that? People who are associated with these gangs, who are mad at who are now weaponizing the system created to go after them, to use it against the people that they want to continue to harass, right, and extort for money. So isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? The people who are pro gang are using this new authoritarian anti-gang crackdown to harass people that they would be harassing otherwise?
sometimes just allow to happen. Other times they investigate. Luckily for us, they investigated before doing anything. There are others who haven't been so lucky.
La verdad es que ninguno de los otros candidatos tiene los pantalones.
Despite the controversies, Bukele's tactics are proving contagious. Here, a presidential candidate in gang-ravaged Ecuador's elections installs a signal jammer outside a jail. In Guatemala, another candidate has promised to build a mega prison, just like Bukele.
I think it's very serious how this is spreading throughout the region.
Yeah.
You can explain
And
it.
this is a direct result of the failure of left leadership to address these problems.
Partly because insecurity is a huge concern throughout the region, and also because there is no alternative narrative out there that is democratic within the boundaries of the rule of law, that can also address and provide results in terms of insecurity.
Yeah, she nailed it. See, she has a degree, so she put fancier words behind it and proper sentence structure, and she said words good. But yeah, I fully agree with her. That's the problem. There's no alternative that is capable of producing anything remotely similar to what we've seen with an authoritarian crackdown when it comes to these gang members. So, and this is where the left fails, man, because like this idea that it's just gonna happen, that the world is just gonna be left one of these days, like we don't gotta earn this shit, right? Oh, it'll just come to us one day. Just be patient, No. While we're thinking about and wishing about a better world, the people who want to just, exploit and destroy are taking real power. And what are we doing, man? We're sitting on our dicks.
No alternative narrative out there that is democratic within the boundaries of the rule of law, that can also address and provide results in terms of insecurity.
Bukele's consolidated power over the state of emergency, cutting the number of seats in Congress, packing courts with allies, pushing...
Listen to this, man. It's a goddamn checklist of dictatorial, yup. Pretty soon the Constitution's going to get suspended. Listen to this.
In terms of insecurity.
Bukele's consolidated power over the state of emergency, cutting the number of seats in Congress, packing courts with allies, pushing aside term limits so he can stand for president again in elections early next year. Elections he looks sure to win.
There you go. That's your El Salvador news. Doing really great, guys. Doing really great, guys. Because a guy like that, what is he gonna do when he starts becoming less popular? What do you think a guy like that's gonna do when the poll numbers start going down and the authoritarian stuff doesn't work? Do you think he's going to look at his policies and be like, oh, we should open that up. We got to soften that and reform this and change that? Is he going to do that? Is he going to be like, ooh, maybe that wasn't a great idea. Maybe I kind of messed that one up and we should reform this. Is he going to do that? Or is he going to double the fuck down? How about we change nothing and we just do all the stuff that we have been doing that people are really not starting to like, because now they're brothers and their fathers and their and their friends and their boyfriends are all getting wrapped up in a system that they have nothing to do with MS-13, but all of a sudden now they're arrested, now they're in jail. There's no information on when they're going to be released. Then they were caught up, they were arrested and convicted with 300 other gang members, and now they're convicted for being a gang member. They had nothing to do with it. What do we do? How do we get out of them? So when enough of those people start bitching, gosh, what do? We just triple down? Yeah, same thing, just do the same thing. Yeah, okay. That's the problem. That's the problem with authoritarian dictators. Like, oh, well, this is nice. I like this, right? This is, okay, yeah, no more crime on the streets. Oh, that's cool, right? What do you mean? What do you mean I got to lift up my shirt and show you my what do you mean? What do you mean? Don't I have rights anymore? Don't I have rights? No, apparently I don't. You're cooler than the coolest dictator? Oh, excuse myself. Moving on to Taiwan. Taiwan residents largely unfazed by Chinese military drills. Quote, I'm unafraid. And they have every right to be unafraid because Uncle Sam isn't going to stand for this one bit. So China, go ahead and beat your chest and make a big fuss and say you own this and that and create a bunch of man-made islands in the middle of the ocean and put some missiles on it. You do you, China. Because when the missiles start flying and the bullets start fucking shooting, right? China doesn't have a fucking chance. Okay, and I'm not saying that because I love the military-industrial complex of the United States, and I think militarism is super good. There's an objective truth we're talking about here. And I don't care how many fancy gizmos China thinks it can employ. Toe-to-toe against the United States through Taiwan, right? The United States supplying Taiwan and Taiwan fighting the war. China doesn't have a fucking chance. Right? And these strategies of brutality. Right. Oh, okay, that's fine. No, well, we can't beat them on the front lines. Well, we'll just start bombing cities. We'll just start bombing civilians, and then they'll submit to the power. That doesn't work either, dog. That doesn't work either. Well, Zeoduke, there ain't a goddamn thing we can do about that, is there? Taiwan's too close to China. I don't think there's a fucking thing we could do about that. All right, so let's dig into this. This is great. Two solid minutes of we ain't scared.
New footage released by China's military shows large-scale exercises being held near Taiwan on Saturday. Experts say the display of military might is widely thought to be in response to Taiwan's vice president's recent visit to the United States. The video shows Chinese fighter jets and warships participating in the joint combat training exercise, something Chinese military officials say is a serious warning to separatist forces. Officials from Taiwan's defense ministry say they strongly condemn the drills and would dispatch the appropriate forces if necessary to ensure national security.
我觉得还好，因为其实演习也蛮多次，然后新闻也一直报说，就是可能中国那边一直在演习，然后干扰我们的台湾海域，但是感觉就只是一个那叫什么贺主吧，不然就是一个就是做个意思这样子，对吧？感觉要真的打过来有点难，虽然说可能有可能，但是应该有点难。对，因为台湾其实虽然说我们感觉在国际上好像还不被承认，但是
But you know, this, I mean, and you know, China's best bet would be like what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, right? Turn it into some really long, protracted conflict and wear down the international community and their support, right? That would be China's only hope. If China thinks that they're just gonna roll in, you know, and a tank column drives straight to the Taiwanese capital, and you know, Taiwan surrenders and sovereignty is handed over to China, you know, and a couple, you know, like it takes like a week maximum. No. China's best bet is some long, drawn out, you know, conflict while their economy gets nuked from high orbit, right? So it's just so funny. It's a lot of bluster because I mean the moment they try that shit, they're like the conversation about removing China from SWIFT will immediately start happening.
我们其实也算蛮重要的，毕竟台湾还有那些什么台积电那些，然后也在国外有一些名声啊，然后现在在国际上台湾也比较有点声望的，所以我觉得应该不敢这么样就打过来。
Taiwan is literally essential to the United States economy.
我觉得就是不会发生战争，然后我也不会害怕。
为什么你会有这样的心情？
因为他们已经讲很久了，而且就是感觉如果真的打了，一定有很多问题啊，而且还有美国。
Besides, Uncle Sam has our back.
其实我觉得这就
You gotta love it. Besides, Uncle Sam has our back. We're good to go, dude.
是这几年中共对台湾的一个手段吧，就是一直想要打压在台湾在整个国际的地位，然后威胁台湾。
BRICS needs another 20 years before I start taking it seriously.
身为他们的邻国，其实压力这样蛮大的，因为随时都有一种好像要被他们统一的那种可能。对。
干扰机编队火箭军。
Hey, Rebel Phoenix, thank you so much for sticking around. Come on back now, you hear? BRICS, I'm not... If you're worried about BRICS, then you're just not paying attention. I'm not saying you are, right? But I'm just saying it's just like... That is not a threat. BRICS is not a threat. Maybe in 20 years, you know, like this... Like, because that's what... I think China is mad a little bit at Putin and Russia over there because... The whole idea, half the world's population, but half of them aren't. Oh, so now it's a numbers game, huh? Now it's a population game, huh? I guess that's why Taiwan is so important on the world stage because they have such a high population, right? Numbers just through the roof because it's all about people. Zeoduke. But no, I mean, I want to see the Western alliance challenged, right? So that it could become stronger and more like because if it's challenged, that means it has to be better. It has to. And how does it be better? It has to actually help people. It has to benefit more people. If the BRICS system starts benefiting more people, and countries and people want to join that system, you know, isn't that capitalism? West is just getting old. Real realities. What's a bunch of untrained, illiterate people gonna do? And I'm not saying everyone in the BRICS countries are illiterate, but you know, I'm just saying, like, what is a bunch of, you know? How is that gonna? They're going to learn to read. Okay, you're right. Human beings have the incredible capacity. So, you know, Zeoduke, I think maybe my 20-year prediction might be a little correct. I don't know. Regardless, though, I do, like I said, I would like to see the Western Alliance challenged, you know, like a true capitalist would. Right? I want to see it challenged, but I don't think BRICS right now is much of a challenge. And that recent episode with Putin not showing up because one country might have to arrest him because he's technically a war criminal because of the war in Ukraine. Awkward. We're just not going to have that conversation, Putin said. How can I challenge you? Wonder how many of the Americans working in the American war machine and the devotees could read that good. All right, buddy. I mean, true. I mean, you don't you don't need to know how to read to stamp out an artillery shell. Okay, but you're defending this more population means more power. And yeah, I'm gonna put my foot on the ground. I don't think having a lot of people necessarily equates to geopolitical power. It could be a big part of it, though. I'm not defending it. I'm saying don't write it off. Okay, no, you're right. You're right about that. Because yeah, you're correct. An illiterate person can actually be very productive in a myriad of ways. Right? Good point. Welcome back, Woke Patriot. All right, moving on to the next bit of our world news here is Brexit threatening peace in Northern Ireland. So I had this queued up several months ago, so sorry, it's about 4 months old, but I really wanted to show this because I think this is a really interesting debate, right? I mean, you have Northern Ireland demanding independence. Like a good chunk of Northern Ireland, and there's a lot of people in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, that don't want independence. Let's talk about that as well. But I mean, this has been an ongoing conversation, and it's such a spit in the face to like all this time, right? All these people from Britain saying, no, we can't do that. Unthinkable. We can't do it. Unthinkable. And then they leave they leave. And then they get to go. Right? So I think it's a little hypocritical. So I think honestly, in our lifetime, we're gonna see Northern Ireland independence. I think it's actually gonna happen, folks. And I think it's gonna be Brexit. I think it's going to be Brexit. It's going to be the nail in the coffin here. But so that's my personal opinion. I haven't actually saw this yet. So let's watch this and see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But I do think this whole Brexit situation is a great opportunity for the people that say, no, we want an independent Ireland. Now's the time to do it. Why do we need to and it's, why can't we separate from Britain and the UK and join the EU as join with Ireland and then I guess that's interesting. If Northern Ireland reforms with Ireland and just becomes Ireland, right? Separates from the UK. Does that region automatically join the EU? Wow, what an interesting thought. How does that work? Is there a separate process for that newly acquired region to join the EU? Because Southern Ireland, the separated part, the independent part, is part of the EU, right? How the hell does that work? It depends on what in the referendum says, I guess. When you say Northern Ireland, do you mean one island or one Ireland? One island or one Ireland? I mean, I don't, there's a lot of different takes on this, right? What I want is what the people want. What I want is a vote to happen in Ireland, and for that vote to be fulfilled. That's what I want. The Republic of Ireland. Okay, there's no Southern Ireland. Okay, thank you, Zio Dude. One island, one Ireland. Okay. All I want is what the people want, and for like my entire life, there has been a very loud and very potentially violent contingency in Ireland that wants to be separated from the UK. There's been this independence movement we've seen, our entire lives. Of course, we saw, the Troubles and all that, but this idea of an independent Ireland has never gone away. So I think Brexit is the time to talk about it. It's kind of rank hypocrisy, right? To argue that for some reason why Ireland needs to stay, but Britain gets to do whatever it wants. It can have full independence if it wants, anytime. People say south of the border and shit like that, but it's people get a bit funny about Southern Ireland. Well, whatever. I mean, I know people are super touchy about this, right? And rightfully so. There's a lot of things to be super touchy about. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the expert, but like I said, I just want if the people of Ireland make a democratic decision, people in the UK need to respect that. So if the people of Northern Ireland vote to leave the UK, they should be allowed to leave the UK. That's my personal belief, because I believe in democracy. I believe in people being able to choose their governments, choose their system of governments. We're not truly free unless we are making decisions on the systems that run our lives. The moment the system becomes unchangeable, we that's a chain. We are now enslaved to that. So I want liberty and freedom and democracy. So let's dig into this here from DW, lovely news channel over there in Germany from DW. Bitch, oh wow. I had this open before I had premium. That is interesting. 1 second here. Go ahead and give this a refresh.
Violence used to be common.
Hey, welcome back. Swim with Whales.
Place in Northern Ireland.
Swim
Over 3,500 people died in the so-called Troubles. A peace agreement 25 years ago put an end to it. But is Brexit reopening old wounds?
We are not Irish. We don't represent as Irish. We are British Ulstermen.
You don't want to see any shootings, you don't want to be seeing bombings. You want to see these kids just having a good life.
It's tit for tat.
Oh, what? Hold on. Okay, hold on.
Represent as Irish. We are British Ulstermen.
You don't want to see any shootings, you don't want to be seeing bombings. You want to see these kids just having a good life.
It's tit for tat constantly, and we're the ones that are suffering.
Okay.
Once at the heart of Northern Ireland's violent conflict, Belfast is still divided. Some neighbourhoods are mixed, some are separated by religious affiliations into mainly Protestant and Catholic areas, divided by so-called peace walls. Each side has their own symbols and identities, memories of a violent struggle kept alive to this day. Murals like these are scattered around Belfast and other places in Northern Ireland. For those that live near them, they are a daily reminder of a troubled past. Since the Good Friday Agreement 25 years ago, it's been largely peaceful here. And yet, Brexit has reminded some people that they are divided. So is Brexit threatening peace in Northern Ireland? East Belfast is a predominantly
I didn't add that sound effect. Isn't that amazing?
Protestant area. Ledley Hall Boxing Club used to be staunchly Protestant. Today, young boxers from all areas of Belfast can train here, including Catholics. Young people in Northern Ireland still grow up largely segregated. It's rare that Catholic and Protestant pupils are taught in the same schools. Trainer Gary Black has been boxing here for over 25 years and has seen big changes.
Trying to get the volume right. Sorry, folks.
There's plenty of kids here. There's kids from, this is East Belfast. You have kids from West Belfast. You have kids from North Belfast. They'll come over, and in here, them kids wouldn't bother with each other outside. But in here, this is where they've got to meet each other now. They're mates. They would never have met each other just walking about the streets of Belfast.
It's important.
It's not.
Yeah, I mean, if you got your leaders putting up walls, to separate, and make these mini tribes within your society, you need third places like this where socialization can happen. So eventually we can bring those walls down.
That these young men and boys have to fear being attacked on a daily basis, but they are all aware of potential threats.
If you're passing certain areas that are Catholic...
Holy shit, this guy is Irish. Holy fucking shit. But they got the Irish meter cranked up to fucking 11 over there. Jesus Christ. Oh, man.
Protestant. If they know you're Protestant, they might not like it. But most of the time, it's not like that. They're sort of calmed down on that, and they're more forgiving.
That's great.
Just around the corner from the club,
so
Protestant paramilitary organizations are celebrated. It's their loyalty to Britain that defines them. They still have a grip on areas like this, just like Catholic paramilitary groups have in other areas.
Hey, that's great news, Zio Duke. Yeah, I would hate to see something as stupid as Brexit, get in the way of that progress. But I mean, I also feel very strongly that if the people of Northern Ireland want to be free from the British Empire, they should have that right. Because I'm not a big fan of the British monarchy, right? I know people are like blowing their load over prince and princess and all this shit, but it's like, hey, how about we give the crown jewels and shit back, right? How about we give some of that shit back, and then we can talk about, the pretty dresses and whatnot. Is it really necessary to hold on to the stolen fucking jewels? What, we can't find replacements? Fuck off with this. Give them back the fucking jewels, for Jesus Christ. You're parading around with the fucking stolen shit on your head? I'm supposed to respect you? What if I robbed a bank and I was just like, hey? No, I guess that's not the same.
Yes.
Oh, really? It's a Viking
Throughout
ancestry.
Northern Ireland,
That's interesting.
So-called peace walls separate Protestant and Catholic neighbourhoods. 10 years ago, Northern Ireland's politicians set out a plan: bring down all of these so-called peace walls by 2023. But today it's estimated that over 100 of them are still in place. They clearly show that the peace process is far from finished. West Belfast once was a notorious flashpoint. Bombay Street is in a Catholic neighbourhood just behind one of these walls. 8 people were killed here in 1969. Today most nights are quiet, though one resident who wanted to...
They're never gonna forget. They're not letting this shit go. Okay, like I don't see any Mario Brother murals on the fucking walls over there. Okay, they're not letting this shit go. So like, there really does need to be some kind of. We gotta address this. It's just stewing. It's just stewing away. This isn't gonna go away. We need to some kind of compromise, some kind of real, honest discussion needs to be had, because it seems to me like everyone just wants to forget and move on with their lives. They're not forgetting.
Remain anonymous, told us that recently a large rock was thrown from the other side. Okay. Others say that since Brexit, they have noticed more tension.
It's worse, that's caused even more divide between the two sides of the community.
Because we're in the European Union and there was no identity crisis. Everybody could be whatever they wanted to be. There was no borders, there was no walls, there was no, not as much animosity. People wanted to engage each other. But once Brexit came along, people stoking that relit old flames and hatreds and things.
Of course.
Katie Hayward is an expert on Brexit in Northern Ireland. She says that since the vote to leave the EU, the progress that had been made in reconciling the two communities has stalled.
Yeah.
It's very much getting to the heart of questions of sovereignty and identity. And those two issues are very important in Northern Ireland. They're very divisive in Northern Ireland. And so we've got a difficulty then in trying to explain the nuances and details of these new arrangements and the new challenges against a background of very simple and straightforward national identity priorities.
To understand better why some people are upset about the realities of Brexit, it's important to talk to businesses.
Okay.
Loudon Guitars, a business based just outside Belfast, makes handmade acoustic guitars.
Oh, beautiful.
Most of them are exported to the EU and the rest of the UK. The vote for Brexit was a shock to the company that was founded almost 50 years ago.
One of the first things that I said was maybe we're going to have to move the workshops over into the south of Ireland, into the EU. Maybe we're going to have to do that. So far that hasn't been necessary, and I hope not.
Because Northern Ireland remains in the single
market. All right, you meatheads. We got people in Ireland calling it Southern Ireland, all right? Come on, can we the gaslighting. The gaslighting is getting out of hand. I don't know what to believe anymore. This guy he's so Irish. Holy smokes. He's wearing a green sweater too. God damn it.
market, Loudon can continue exporting to the EU. But some of the most expensive guitars now need an additional license when they are being
Damn, that's quite an operation. Look what this guy's got going. Dang, dude.
shipped to mainland Britain. Before Brexit, that was not the case.
In the end, we found out that there had been a small number of restrictions between ourselves and the UK, and directly as a result of Brexit.
When the UK decided to leave the EU, it was feared that having a
Wait a minute. Wait. He said negatives? I thought there was going to be nothing but positives from Brexit, guys. How is this possible?
hard border in Ireland could lead to the return of sectarian violence. That's why Northern Ireland has a special status and stays.
That's the thing. I feel like it would be nearly impossible for me to have a conversation with anybody from any region of Ireland without them getting incredibly pissed off at me. I'd be coming back with teeth missing no matter what I do. Let's be real. And that isn't really a comment on Irish people and violence. It's really more of a comment on my unbelievable capacity for being an asshole.
Within the EU,
it's boundless.
Single market. A trade border for goods with mainland Britain is the consequence of that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Wow. One more time on this one, because I think this is the heart of it right here. One more time. Hey, welcome back, OG Lee in this house. Love to see you, Lee. Hope you're doing well.
When the UK decided to leave the EU, it was feared that having a hard border in Ireland could lead to the return of sectarian violence. That's why Northern Ireland has a special status and stays within the EU single market. A trade border for goods with mainland Britain is the consequence of that.
So it's not a member of the EU, but it basically, to avoid confusion and for obvious reasons, it's basically treated like a trade partner of the EU. So like all the trade related stuff, you get to do all that. One more time.
The return of sectarian violence. That's why Northern Ireland has a special status and stays within the EU single market.
Oh, wow. So wait a minute. Yes. Okay. Yes. They now have different lanes. They now have different lanes at customs, basically. Okay.
A trade border for goods with mainland Britain is the
But nothing else has changed. They're still in the single market, but they have a different lane now.
Consequence of that.
The Good Friday Belfast Agreement was created very much in the context of the UK and Ireland being members of the European Union. And this helped things in two ways. One thing politically, that good British-Irish relationship as friendly neighbours and partners in the EU
that's
underpinned
huge.
the whole of the peace process. Secondly, in practical terms, of course, being part of the single market in the EU enabled borders and divisions between Ireland and Northern Ireland to be reduced, but also across the United Kingdom.
While businesses in Northern Ireland are benefiting from being inside the EU single market, Great Britain is still Northern Ireland's biggest trading partner. So any friction at the border causes concern, especially when it comes to goods that are seen as important. Sausages and some cheeses, for example, are harder to import.
You British folks. It's so important. Sausages and cheeses.
From mainland Britain. For Mark Brown, who runs Arcade.
Oh my God, I'm sure someone would love that, but that looks disgusting to me. I'm such a pussy when it comes to cheese.
A delicatessen in Belfast, it's more difficult now to receive products from small producers in England or Scotland.
Dude,
Sometimes
there's got to be a cheesehead.
You don't know
Welcome
if you're
back,
going to
Creel.
get it. Is it going to get stopped? And the fact is, I need that
right back.
very quickly. And if it does get delayed, sometimes you have to return it and say, I'm sorry, but I mean, that's 4 days being delivered. It's fresh foods, discarded.
It's these trade barriers that some Protestants in Northern Ireland have a problem with. They feel closely aligned with Britain and celebrate the memory of the late Queen. It is this British identity that they feel is being stripped away. They fear an ever closer alignment and possible reunification with the Irish Republic.
That's what we are, British people. We are not Irish. We don't represent as Irish. We're British Ulstermen. So when that border gets taken away, that's forcing us into being more Irish. So that's where the problem is.
I'd say the majority of the people, including myself, would see ourselves as British. And I think it sort of means we're less British in a way, you know, so it sort of goes against our identity.
The separation between ourselves and the mainland. And
It's so weird to hear someone with such a thick Irish accent say, oh, we're British.
that shouldn't happen. You know, I'm a British citizen, I'm not Irish.
On the other side of the peace wall, that is exactly
What a
what many
divide.
people want. They feel
What a
Irish,
divide.
and they want to break away from the United Kingdom to be part of the Republic of Ireland. Northern Ireland's latest census shows Catholics outnumber Protestants for the first time. Religious identity tends to be a good indicator of attitude to a united Ireland.
Yeah, good comparison, Woke
Pat
Patriot.
Sheehan used to be a member of the IRA. He spent over 18 years in prison for committing terror attacks and was released as part of the peace process. Today he is sure that a united Ireland can be achieved entirely peacefully.
What I think Brexit has done is accelerate the discussion and debate around a united Ireland, because we have seen that the dynamo and the driving force behind Brexit was English nationalism, that it's England that wanted Brexit, Scotland didn't want it, it wasn't wanted here. You know, we voted against it here and the Scottish also voted against it, but we're being taken out against our will.
Pat Sheehan is a long-standing member of Northern Ireland's Assembly, but some of his counterparts who feel aligned to Britain have been blocking the regional government over Brexit, leaving a dangerous political void.
There is a concern if there isn't access to exclusively democratic and peaceful means of expressing your political views, that there is a certain logic in some people's minds to the use of violence to express political viewpoints.
Democracy is
Local
pretty fucking
politicians are
important.
trying to counterbalance this. Everyone's invited to the annual St. Patrick's Day parade in honour of Ireland's patron saint, regardless of whether they feel British or Irish. And the UK government, together with the EU, has just agreed to reduce trade checks to an absolute minimum. And yet, grievances over Brexit remain. People in Northern Ireland don't want to go back to the old days, to the so-called Troubles. They want to move forward in peace. But Brexit has created new borders and new divisions. And it's made clear peace in Northern Ireland cannot be taken for granted.
Fascinating. Fascinating stuff, and what a great little mini documentary from DW about the situation. I'm sure this is not the last we've heard of it. This is 4 months old, so there might have been, you know, some more recent news about it, but this is really great. I'm glad we had the time to cover this. And thank you, Woke Patriot, for all of your little historical tidbits. Very, very fun to read those. Last bit of world news here, little finance news. China Avangrid files for Chapter 15 bankruptcy in U.S. court filing. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm you know, buy and sell expert, Mr. Market Boy expert here. But I can tell you that it's shocking to me how so much money could be you know, completely disintegrated, and the financial world keeps on churning. On the drive-through, then we're just waiting on fries. Oh my God, fresh hot fries. You're making all the fat asses, including company included, hungry. Why would you do this to us, Rebel? Now I want French fries. China Avangrid, which is the world's most heavily indebted property developer and became the poster child for China's property crisis on Thursday, filed for protection from creditors in a U.S. bankruptcy court. The company sought protection under Chapter 15 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, which shields non-U.S. companies that are undergoing restrictions from creditors that hope to sue them or tie up assets in the United States. Right? So that's like, this protects them from, you know, investors like, okay, well, I'm going to get my money back. one way or another. An affiliate, Tangi Holdings, also sought Chapter 15 protection on Thursday in a Manhattan bankruptcy court. A lawyer for Avangrid did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Evergrande, how do you say this, man? Evergrande filing comes amid growing fears that problems in China's property sector could spread to other parts of the country's economy as growth slows. Since the sector's debt crisis unfolded in mid-2021, companies accounting for 40% of Chinese home sales have defaulted. So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's a massacre. It's a massacre. If you're invested in Chinese real estate, you're fucked. And yet, you know, I mean, this is why it's like we should never want the global system run like the way China runs its market. It's smoke and mirrors, man. There's that the Chinese stock market does not in any way, shape, or form reflect reality. Okay, never grande, not so ever grande. Hey, I'd like a coffee. Can I get a Evan Grande? Lever Grande. But I mean, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I'm not saying the United States, Western stock market, all these other stock markets that are connected to it, NASDAQ and all this other shit, that it's not smoke and mirrors. But I mean, I just feel like it's more connected to reality than the Chinese system, which is apparently just, you know, if the Chinese government can come in and just say, you know, oh, you're not crashing today, then it's not a real market. It's a joke. I've heard on other streams that China's been quietly buying up farmland here in the U.S. Is that for real? Yeah, the Dish Lady, that's been happening for quite some time. Look into it. China's been buying, I mean, God knows what, power plants, garbage companies, beer companies. I mean, you name it, dude. China is trying to buy up as much of the West as humanly possible. It's a massive problem here in Canada as well. Only now has it started to become a scandal in Canada, the amount of Chinese government influence and, you know, just Chinese influence in general in the real estate market here in Canada. I mean, notwithstanding the behavior of Chinese nationals during COVID, does anyone remember that when Chinese nationals were going to every store, buying all the PPE that they could possibly buy, face masks, hand sanitizer, and shipping that to China? Does anyone remember that happening? The health of Country Garden, China's largest privately run developer, is also worrying investors after the company missed some interest payments this month. So there you go. There's an example right there. Chinese company ran, you know, in the United States, buying up real estate. Evergrande recently had $330 billion of liabilities. A late 2021 default triggered a string of defaults at other builders, resulting in thousands, and I'm talking thousands, in unfinished homes across China. So let's get the story straight. Evergrande took your money. Sometimes, in some cases, not just a down payment, right? Like a good chunk or the entire cost of the home, right? You bought the home lock, stock, and barrel from Evergrande. They have all they give you is a promise that it's been built. So now that the chickens are coming home to roost, thousands of homes that were paid for in some form or another are not going to be built. That's what I'm talking about, money just dissolving, right? This is seemingly one of the largest Ponzi schemes that has ever existed. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Money to cover other money, right? This massive slush. And where's the, you know, and like what do we, huh? It's all good, bruh. It's all good, bruh, I guess. In a filing in the Manhattan Bankruptcy Court, Evergrande said it was seeking recognition of restructuring talks underway in Hong Kong, the Cayman Islands, and the British Virgin Islands. It's got tentacles everywhere. Evergrande has said creditors may be able to vote this month on a restructuring with possible approval by Hong Kong and British Virgin Island courts in the first week of September. The company proposed scheduling a Chapter 15 recognition hearing for September 20th. Last month, Evergrande posted a combined $81 billion loss for 2021 and 2022. I mean, billion, son, billion. Prompting investor worries about the viability of a debt restructuring plan it proposed in March. Yeah, you need money to do that. On Monday, it's electric vehicle unit. China Evergrande New Energy Vehicle Group announced its own proposed restructuring. So they're making cars. That plan called for a $2.7 billion debt for equity swap and nearly 500 million share sale that would give Dubai-based automaker a 27.5% stake. So it's a Dubai-based Chinese company. Evergrande's NEV's combined 2021 and 2022 loss was nearly $10 billion. Trading in China Evergrande shares was suspended in March of 2022. So there you go, folks. I don't know what kind of advice to give you that could, to be like, watch out for this, right? But here's the thing, is that this can easily get out of hand, and then it could start affecting us. And then all of a sudden, it gets even worse for us, and we're like, what the hell's an Evergrande? What the fuck? I can't pay my bills. If anything, what this is a reason why we should be democratizing our capital markets, why we should be regulating them, why we should be forcing transparency, doing all we can to prevent these markets from getting away with the chicanery that they insist that they can, get away with. They'll just tell you straight up, oh, the whole system doesn't work if we can't rip people off. And then the whole thing, all the walls will come collapsing. Don't listen to the grifters. We can have a heavily regulated market that mainly benefits, lower and middle class people if we wanted to build that. The reason why the system is filled with graft and grift is because that's how they want it. Because that's how they built it. It's not a, there's a lot of communists that say it's the logical conclusion of capitalism is to create these kind of hyper exploitative markets, and there's no other way to do it. And I think it's fair to say that unregulated capitalism without any impediment, right, just allowed to do whatever it wants, yes, absolutely, I agree with that. But I feel like that calculation about the inevitability of capitalism and corruption, I feel like that argument misses the fact that we can regulate capitalism to such an extent that we could actually get it to work for regular folks. And I'm not even talking about the stock market in general. It's like, if that was the case, why would we even have the stock market, right? Because how does that actually benefit regular folks? It really doesn't. It's a lot of speculation, right? It's a lot of bullshit. But I feel like we can get capitalism to work for regular folks. But maybe we don't need a stock market. Do we actually need a stock market? I've been living my whole life. Never fucking needed the stock market once. I need a hug more than I need the stock market. Oh. All right. Well, those are my thoughts on that. Everyone have a good day. This has been the World News segment. We're moving on to our wildfire coverage.